Hello, team. Welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pierce. And it's not just that, of course, it's a co-stream between all three of us here. So we've got Prof. Gerdes from Prof. Gerdes Explains and Greg Terry from the Greg Terry Experience. Welcome, gentlemen, to what will hopefully be an interesting and an absorbing video. So, guys, what are we going to be talking about today? What's going on?
I think there was a meeting that happened in Washington, D.C. I've heard some rumors over here in Ukraine that possibly there was a meeting. So I'm waiting for Gerdes there in the U.S. to confirm it.
I thought we were talking about economics. I mean, no, of course. Yeah. I mean, but the trick is we don't really know exactly what to talk about because we know what happened before. We all watched the meetings as they were transpiring, but there's no after reporting yet, or it's just starting to trickle in. So we'll just try to put our heads together and see what we see from different angles.
I'm not sure.
Quite a bit of content to share.
I do too. And I don't think there's, Johnny, I don't think there's going to be much after reporting because basically we've had the press conference with Zelensky prior to, then they had their private meeting. And then we've confirmed that the map was from the United States. And then they sat around the table. And
so explain some things, though, Greg. Like the map was from the United States. What are we talking about?
Explain
that to people.
Okay, we'll start with JP.
Yeah, I suggest let's go through this chronologically. We'll get there in a minute, if you don't mind, gents. If we start from the context of how this is, why they're having a meeting now, and actually what's happened over the last few days, because I was dooming about today, but some of the hints we're getting now are actually fairly positive, as far as I can work out. But the dooming is, so we had the Alaska summit that was, in my opinion, still. My analysis hasn't changed there. It's an unmitigated disaster where I think Putin was able to steamroll Trump and the administration and get what he wanted, to the point where Trump, over the last couple of days in True Social posts, has been delivering the Putin talking points and requesting, well, not even requesting, he's saying it's a necessity that Zelensky and Ukraine have to give up land. He said that he should go for an immediate cessation of the war. In other words, capitulate and surrender. He said no NATO and no Crimea back. So this is all Putin talking points, and this was particularly worrying. So the hopes were that this meeting today with Zelensky in the White House might allow Zelensky and then the European leaders to put their case across and persuade Trump, knowing that he has a recency bias, whereby, you take him out of one context and put him in another, and then he regurgitates what he hears over there. You put him over there. He doesn't have too much of his own kind of background knowledge, and he's very susceptible to what people say around him. So that's kind of where I would say we are at. Is that a fair analysis?
And just before we started, I was telling Johnny, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that he's susceptible, that the recency bias is kicking in, and we're going to see us swing the other direction, because Alaska was horrible. I mean, I don't know anybody that has a favorable view of what happened in Alaska.
When Fox News were certainly when they were reporting live, when they were as damning of the event as anyone else, then that it probably wasn't a good experience.
Yeah, the reporter was saying it was weird in the room. I've never felt anything like that before.
Yeah, Jackie Heinrich. Yeah.
All right, let's go logical. Logic is, we have to consider that this at least was cordial. President Zelensky was welcomed into the White House. The conversation for the first 20 minutes, I literally wrote everything down. So I would have it in my head tonight and be accurate for everybody, because we had told everyone we'd be discussing this and people are really interested to hear. I would probably say a majority of that conversation, the 27-minute conversation prior to the private talks with Zelensky and Trump, at least half of it, and I think I'm being more than fair there, was centered on U.S. politics, with over 5 minutes being spent on mail-in ballots and how fraudulent the Democrats are. When we're supposed, and I don't want to talk about that stuff. I'm just saying.
Well, actually, sorry to interrupt you, but I am actually going to return to that topic because it's connected to Russia. So I am going to return
Correct.
to that.
Yeah, and that's because Putin said it. Like, how
That's
can you have
because Putin told him. Okay, fair enough.
You spent
Exactly.
$2 billion on a rigged election, and you're talking about mail-in ballots. Anyway,
so if we take a look at there's multiple things that happened. I'll lay it out here. We had the pre-talk press conference, which for me I never understand, but whatever. Okay, so and for me that was at the beginning of it. I think it was pretty staged. And listen, guys, I just believe it was. The Peter Doocy was the first one to ask questions, and the questions were logical. And then it went actually to the reporter who was given the vodka, and that was the same dude about the suit earlier, and now he was complimenting Zelensky on his jacket, and Zelensky, says,
Zelensky's reply though was great.
You're wearing the same suit you were wearing then. Zelensky, flexed a little bit, but we had a cordial meeting. A lot of interesting questions there. Zelensky never made a direct statement on the big elephant in the room, which is the territory, which we all know that is. The whole world knows it. Let's just talk about it and stop pretending it's not the big elephant in the room. But in addition to that, then they moved to the private talk about an hour. Then they went and took a photo with the European leaders. Then they sat down with the European leaders. Donald Trump went around the table. They all were able to thank Donald Trump for the great work that he's doing. He was also able to introduce the president of Finland, but he couldn't find him, even though he was sitting directly across the table from him. So this is what we had. At the conclusion of that, they go into a private meeting, and now I'm seeing comments coming out of Russia right now that, and I'll confirm it again when you guys are talking, that right now Donald Trump is trying to call Putin with Zelensky and the European leaders in the room, in the Oval Office. So that's okay.
Progress.
Now, we did also catch a hot mic moment at the end. Russian media did, Johnny, and you can play this and then we'll get going.
I think he wants to make a deal with me. You understand that? As crazy as it sounds. Just sit down.
Okay, I AI subtitled it. I pumped the volume up in my software. This is exactly what he says. It is Trump talking to Macron. Yep, I think he wants to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that? As crazy as it sounds, you sit down. That was it. Hot mic. He's talking to Macron. So this is where we're at. And they're in the Oval Office right now, as far as I understand.
I just showed this before because I love, so just to give some people a bit more context, that the Americans, apparently American officials were putting pressure on Zelensky to wear a suit, which you've already referenced. And so I love this, which is they did ask him to wear a suit. Imagine if he went in with a suit covered in the words Epstein there. I just would have thought that would have been quite funny. But then he actually turns up wearing that what you just showed actually is sort of a halfway. There is a kind of compromise there, which I think is entirely sensible, rather similar to what he had worn the last time, but he's not gone full suit, and I wouldn't expect him to, and I wouldn't actually want him to. Some people are saying that he should do. I saw some analysts saying that he should just swallow that, but I think there are interesting power plays around even what you wear. I think if he had completely worn a normal suit, that would have shown utter capitulation, I think, of Ukraine to the US demands, and I think that would have been a real shame. So I'm glad.
Okay, so just so you guys know, we have 40 shaheeds in the air, and 45% of Ukraine is under air alarm right now. We also had a ballistic missile strike earlier in Sumy, near another epicenter. Additionally, as soon as the European leaders started to arrive, Russia put the MiG-31 in the air. And at that moment, of course, they can carry the Kinjal hypersonic missile. The entire nation has to go under air alarm at that moment. So you can call it interesting timing or sheer chance. Of course, it's not. A message was being sent. And right now, it's a lot of shaheeds are starting to roll in.
And it happened last night as well. So there was interesting timing with regard to last night's strikes. There were some ballistic missiles. When you talk about the epicenter being hit, just to let people know, epicenter is like a DIY superstore that the Ukrainians have, and a couple of those have already been hit.
Over 10 have been destroyed.
But yeah.
So-
I mean, the big one. Yeah, there was one big one that got like completely taken out in the daytime. But
I don't know what you call it in Europe, Johnny, but Greg described it to me like a Lowe's or a Home Depot.
Yeah,
here in
Lowe's,
the US.
Home Depot on steroids. So that's what's happening right now. Additionally, I do have I'm reading straight Ukrainian news now. And this is also from Sternyenko is confirming that they are attempting to call Putin right now together.
So does Putin want to answer that call?
Of course.
You sure that he wants to actually have the discussion about a trilateral summit?
No, he won't. He's the alpha.
So
I wonder whether
do you understand what I'm saying here?
Not. Yeah, because I'm not sure that he would answer it. I reckon you could build up a case that
Now 60 drones in the air. They're rolling.
I reckon you could build up a case that he wouldn't answer that, as well as a case that he could. I could go either way.
Well, can I say one more thing and then you guys get going at it? Okay. So I've been watching this completely. I have my Ukrainian friends with me here, and one of them walked into me, and I'm watching this. I'm watching everything in English for the last 3 hours, sitting right here. And my buddy walks in. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm watching the meetings there with Zelensky, and I'm just going to make sure that we can know what's going on. It's being covered really well by Sky News, actually. And then I have a live stream later with some guys." He goes, "So you're wasting your time." I said, "Why am I wasting my time?" He goes, "Because when it comes to the very end, Donald Trump will say in 2 weeks, we will know more." And daggone it, the last statement he made after I watched for 3 hours, and I quote, is, "I hope that within 2 weeks, we will know that if we have a way to get this to an end or the war will continue." So the Ukrainians know, man. He said, "I'm going to watch a movie." He goes, "Because at the end, he will say 2 weeks, and you guys that were watching this that are in the stream now, whether on my channel or Professor Gerdes or Johnny's, you all saw it." That's exactly what he said at the end.
Fortnite sounds better.
All right, a fortnight for the Brits.
I'm saying that for Johnny.
Thank you. I didn't realize that there was. I thought you would use that as well, but hey ho, what do I know? Interesting that prior to the meeting, that Zelensky got to meet with Keith Kellogg, and that there were the people around. I mean, I don't like the fact that JD Vance was there, but otherwise there were some fairly useful people in the meeting with Zelensky, and then of course you've got all the European leaders who, that they are. It was good to have them all there, the big hitters there. I mean, before the meeting, you had the range of expectations actually from the leaders. Like they were unsure. From all I've seen and heard out the German delegation in Washington, the Europeans are bracing themselves for all caps anything, says Mikhailo Kufner. At best, an instant agreement that could include US security guarantees for Ukraine, and we're going to talk about that in a second. At worst, a clash with Trump. EU leaders schedule a call of all 27 leaders tomorrow, which is obviously shows how important this is.
I just want to let you guys know I'm reading the straight Ukrainian and the Russian right now while we're live and we're all talking. So now we have 60 Shaheeds in the air, and also the Tupolev 95s are moving on the runways. So whether it's a flex, where they're going to reposition, whatever, the Tupolevs are moving, and those are the long-range bombers, guys. And we have 60 Shaheeds in the air now. So regardless, this is what you're seeing. And of course, Vladimir Putin, the Kremlin in Russia, knows exactly what they're doing. As a response.
Yeah, and so there was a couple of good moments today with regard to Donald Trump, and very recently in some things that he has said as a result of the meeting that's already taken place. Given that he had said such egregious things over the last 24 hours, I mean, he seems to flip flop all over the place, and it's that kind of unreliability that. And the volatility, I think, of Trump that makes him so frustrating as a leader, because and also can be a benefit, right? If you don't quite know where he's going to be, then there is a power in, I wouldn't call it strategic ambiguity, I'd just call it kind of ignorant flip-flopping, but nonetheless, there can be a utility in that. But also, he's just deeply unreliable.
It's not strategic ambiguity; it's just ambiguity.
Ambiguity, yeah. I was trying to think of the alternative.
I don't know that he's trying to do any. Like
Yeah.
he's strategically ambiguous about not answering questions. He'll say things like, "Well, we'll see. Well, I don't want to get to that right now," or whatever. But like, I don't know that he's strategic and trying to get to this or to get to that. I don't know that he knows where he's going. He just thinks it'll work out over time.
100%. I think he's such a vibes person. I mean, I always go back to Fiona Hill, I'd say his national security advisor, just saying his calls are completely unprepared and he goes on vibes. Essentially, is what her synopsis was in slightly different words.
One of the great moves for me tonight was very strategic on the part of President Vladimir Zelensky, and that was he hand delivered a letter from his wife to Melania Trump, thanking her and talking about the children. And, he says, President Trump, if you would, please deliver this to your wife. And because my wife and your wife have very important things they agree on, and that is the return of the humanitarian side of Ukrainian children. That was a brilliant move.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. And I like thank you very much. That's not for you.
That's not for you. And so he was able to say something strong without getting attacked. And and you know what? When this stream's over, it's 11:18 here in Ukraine. I'm gonna go out and run around my building, and my building's big because I'm so thankful that JD Vance didn't open his mouth.
Yeah. Because actually, the JD Vance is the ideological problem there. So the thing about Trump, like we said so many times before, I just think he's like deeply ignorant and therefore susceptible to manipulation and therefore also susceptible to recency bias, right? But JD Vance has an ideological core which I think runs contrary to supporting Ukraine. Like I think he's deeply embedded in the world of the Heritage Foundation, and the Heritage Foundation famously flip-flopped where they were supporting Ukraine at the beginning of the war, then something happened and their ideology just flipped. And then was it Justin Roberts who's in charge of Heritage Foundation? He publicly flipped, and then all the Heritage Foundation bigwigs started going against Ukraine to the point where they're either their at the time military advisor or former military advisors like, what is going on here?
Yeah, flipped or left.
Really uncomfortable.
Listen to me. This is really important too. Heritage used to be the flagship conservative think tank. Like I have books on my shelf from Heritage, but they were Reagan conservative types all the way through until 2016 with Trump, and then they started softening up, and then they did what they did, and they either flipped or left, like Luke Coffey, who went over to Hudson, and like some of them just abandoned ship because it was no longer like. And they were all into Orban for some weird reason. It was just weird.
I wrote a massive article on that. So there are some very interesting connections through Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson, who is quite involved with the Heritage Foundation, like adjacent. Tucker Carlson's father sits on a board for a lobbying company who lobbies for Viktor Orban. So the reason why CPAC is deeply involved with both Orban and Hungary. So CPAC have had, I think, 2 conferences in Hungary. Viktor Orban has been a keynote speaker at CPAC conferences in the US. So CPAC is a conservative sort of action pack, conservative
political action committee or something, or conference or something like that.
Yeah. And so these are the real kind of.
I've been to those.
Yeah, the GOP.
Right? I mean, so I'm telling you, like Heritage and CPAC were like the big 800-pound gorillas in the conservative movement, and then they just got like co-opted. It's just a weird thing to watch. And by the way, our understanding, like in conservative spheres, of Orban mostly came through Tucker when he was on Fox.
So his father and him have effectively, I mean, he has done his father's job of lobbying for Orban. So he's interviewed Orban a number of times. He's been on stage at CPAC with Orban, interviewing Orban. So there is, and when you look at Heritage Foundation, so my article looked at doing a bit of investigation. We're actually synthesizing what other people have done, looking at funding. So there's two foundations in Hungary, one called the Bettany Foundation, one called the Danube Institute. Both take funding from indirectly from Russia through, one of them takes funding directly from the propaganda department in Hungary. So both of those organizations help to fund heritage, right? So Heritage Foundation is literally receiving money from Hungary through Russia, or from Russia through Hungary, right? So then when you start understanding some of where the Heritage Foundation is coming from these days, and there are people, obviously I'm not conservative, but there are conservatives like yourself who have really got upset that the Heritage Foundation has done this kind of really significant morph in recent times, but they have, and the connections to Russia and Hungary are actually quite explicit.
So heritage, I would say, is like MAGA now.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
It's not conservative. It is the populist MAGA and all that comes with it. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay, let's technically speak about Hungary just for a moment. I'm putting this information in for my morning video, but we have confirmation from MyGar about 1 hour ago that Ukraine completely destroyed the pumping station in Russia that Hungary has been complaining about, and really we're in a battle between a Hungarian prime minister, I think, and I know it was
Peter Shihata, the foreign minister, has been going mad.
Foreign minister, they're going back with Subiga right now, but I can tell you right now, that's not going to be repaired tomorrow. It is completely destroyed.
On the flip side, though, Greg, Russia hit the Sokar oil refinery and gas pumping station,
100%,
and another oil depot for Azerbaijan. So that's the Azerbaijan pumping both oil and gas. And in fact, the one they hit in Odessa last night, the footage hadn't come out when I did my hits and losses video when I recorded it, but actually there's footage coming out now, and it was really on fire. Like it was really big time.
That's another loss to Russia, though. I mean, the Azerbaijanis are just looking for something to push them right over the line to support Ukraine. They just said, like, I was looking at a Euromaidan press article the day before about them saying, like, look, we're making all these artillery shells. We know that Ukraine wants it.
Ukraine wants
them. They better not. Russia better not do anything else. And the very next day, boom, in Odessa. So,
and just in case you guys are wondering, Sokar is that Azerbaijani company, but inside Ukraine,
state company,
especially on the south and on the east, there are over 60 Sokar gas stations, and in some key cities in the front, like Zaporizhia, and of course they were in Donetsk area, but they've been destroyed. Additionally, up in Kharkiv, a lot of that east and south, Kherson, Mykolaiv, is the Sokar gas stations, and we get fuel there quite often. They're very, very nice. And you have now Azerbaijan coming out this afternoon saying, hey, you keep doing this, we're just going to send Ukraine weapons. So
Azerbaijan doesn't need any more encouragement to be anti-Putin, and they're going to, I think, draw Turkey over into Azerbaijan, and that's going to change the orbit of the whole South Caucasus kind of region.
Yeah, and Ukraine need all the friends they can get, especially in that kind of region, and of course that really hurts Russia's political strategy concerning the Eurasian region, the Caucasus, etc. So if only things were marginally different in Georgia, then Russia would be in a lot more trouble, because some of these countries like Armenia's accession to the EU, I don't think it will ever happen, but it is completely dependent on Georgian accession, because Georgia literally geographically connects EU to Armenia. Armenia's future in Europe as a continent, if it has a future in Europe, is somewhat contingent on Georgia being in the European sphere of influence and not being in the Russian one, because it sits to the left-hand side of Armenia and Azerbaijan. So,
Tupolev 22s are now moving on the runway, and Ukraine picking up the radio chatter that is indicative of a strike. Doesn't mean there will be, but the chatter is rolling. So Russia could be bluffing or playing a game, but we got 60 drones in the air right now that is also somewhat indicative from the routes they're flying. So we'll see whether they do it or not. They're still sending all indications that it's a signal.
Yeah, and I think it would be amazing if they didn't go hard on Ukraine tonight.
Tupolev 95 just took off from Elena Air Force Base.
And they've been
Ukraine,
saving up their shot heads for weeks now. Like they've been at 50 to 100, other than last night, most days for the last 2 weeks, when they can produce up to 150 or so.
I don't think they can. So
Well,
I'm
okay, I know that they've hit
positive.
I know that they hit the factory. I get that, but even before they hit the factory, they were slowing down how much they were able to do. And
so unless you see a 600 drone strike tonight, which would be the perfect night for them to do that, then absolutely Russia's supply chain has been hit, and I'm pretty sure it has been hit because I keep a close eye on the stats.
That's a fair point. I'm gonna tell my audience that tomorrow what you just said, because I think that's
Prof, your audience is listening right now. You're live.
No, I know I'm live. I'm saying tomorrow morning, those who are not watching this, most of my viewers don't watch live streams like your viewers do. Like my viewers like the 10-minute short little something, be quiet after 15 minutes kind of thing. So I'm not expecting everybody, but I'm going to tell them tomorrow what you just said. I think you're right that if they have a big strike tonight, they still have that production, and if they don't, that may be indicative of that their production ability has been hindered.
My audience dream of me shutting up after 15 minutes. It never happens. So here is what we see from these are my stats done by well, they're not mine, but Dell, one of my viewers, compiles the general staff stats. So these are the drones that have been intercepted. I'm trying to make it just a tad bigger here. Yeah, here it comes. So you can see that there is a dropping off, but a precipitous drop off from there. If you look at the green 7-day average, there it's coming right down. And what you would expect is there to be every couple of weeks a large attack that's even more than 300 would be nice. But actually, if you're Russian, obviously it's not nice if you're Ukrainian at all. But they haven't done that. And actually, this is, I think, given what took place in this kind of time period, I think you are seeing issues. And then when you look at cruise missile, it's a similar sort of picture. We are not seeing days or nights of over 100 cruise missiles, not for a very long time. And so I really do think Ukraine has successfully taken out at least some of Russia's ability to produce or transport or fix the warheads or produce the components of both Shahed drones and missiles.
I would just say, first of all, thank you for everybody that's sending super chats and asking questions. We will get to all of those. JP is hosting this, and he has his software where he can roll through them. We'll be getting to all of you, but thank you in advance for that. We really appreciate it, and we'll get to those questions. And I even saw Armored Robin Hams Greg, a Pepsi for the road. Thank you. But we'll get to them. So for me, I have a little different perspective on that. And maybe it's because I'm here. I do agree with you guys that it's illogical to say that the supply chain has not been hit or damaged. And that's obvious because we see it daily, almost daily, with Ukraine hitting targets and causing significant damage. So over time, it has to have effect. But for me, we may not be seeing those huge nights where there are 400 shaheeds and 70 missiles. But let me tell you something, people.
It's still hurting.
Sumy and Kharkiv and Kramatorsk and Slavyansk and Dobropilya and Zaporizhia and Kherson are being smashed. So it's just because you don't see those huge numbers of shaheeds. And today we had confirmation that Russia, when they struck the apartment building and killed the civilians this morning, guys, on the day, let's don't forget that they killed 4 people today in Kharkiv at the apartment building. They destroyed Sumy State University today. So civilian targets, completely destroyed it.
Don't forget they attacked the shopping mall. Which was about to attack Russia. So they're they got
that residential building in Kharkiv where entire family of 4 were killed.
Correct.
So how horrific.
The point being, I know it makes the big news when there's 80 missiles and 400 shaheeds, but I'm telling you every night. And And the reality is Russia can do that to Kharkiv anytime they want. Tomorrow, I'm already putting data together about why Ukraine cannot give up the Donetsk region, because if they do, and those borders, so I do not trust Vladimir Putin. I do not trust Russia. They are liars. They are warmongers. And for even the thought to be today around the tables with the European leaders and Zelensky that we can trust Putin going forward is an absolute tragedy. But yeah, that image right there, it brings all these cities into range, like a Pavlograd, like in Izum. Guys, Izum is really damaged, but pre-war, 110,000 people. It's a big town. Johnny's been there. So this is why. Look at the defensive lines. Ukraine's not giving up their territory. So
yeah,
this
so
is,
I mean, I had this thread
so
ready,
key.
not to necessarily go through the thread because it's quite in depth, but this is Clément Mollin, who's a French mapper, who says basically, here's a thread as to why Ukraine cannot give up Donetsk.
They cannot.
It can't happen. And what's interesting here, and actually this is a good segue, Greg, because I was going to go on to talk about some of the positives that Trump has murmured over the last couple of days, and there was a rumor that came out that Trump had actually been quite hard on Putin, and actually this could have been the moment where the meeting ended early in Alaska. So Trump reportedly threatened to end talks in Alaska when Putin wanted the entire of Donetsk Oblast. This is according to various media. Euromodern Press here reporting it, quote, "If Donetsk is the thing here, and if there is no give, we should just not prolong this," Trump told Putin, sources say. Putin then backed off the demand. So that's interesting that on the one hand, Trump doesn't seem to have much of a grasp of the nuts and bolts of the war and the granular detail. But on the other hand, I think he's been told very forthrightly that Ukraine simply will not give up Donetsk. And if that's the case, then you are going to get Trump realizing that it's not going to happen. And then you get today, and sorry to go on here, but in today we know that there was this map in the White House. Now the Ukrainians brought along a map. There's a picture of the Ukrainians bringing a map that was rolled out. This looks like a cardboard map that seems to be the.
Well, they confirmed at the
Americans.
end. Zelensky confirmed at the end this was the American map. He even asked, "Hey, it's a nice map. Let me take it home."
Yeah, because they had one rolled up that was saw, but that's not that one. So the Americans obviously had one ready, and yeah, so it appears that Donetsk was not on the cards, and indeed, I think from what I can gather, that they were talking about, if I get the right one here. So Zelensky says they had a very good talk with Trump. So Zelensky's readout of the meeting is really actually quite positive. So he said, "I think we had a very good conversation with President Trump, very good, and it really was the best one. Or sorry, maybe the best one will be in the future, but it was really good." And that's very positive. So good news for Ukraine there. And sorry, just the last bit was I showed Trump many details on the map regarding the fighting. So what you want Trump to, if Trump is not receiving intelligence briefings from his own intelligence outfits, which apparently he's not, then he's going to get some of his intelligence, at least, from literally direct meetings with Zelensky and his team. And this is where Zelensky and his team realize that they've got to deliver actual mapping facts and war facts as far as the Ukrainians are concerned directly to Trump, so that they know he's getting unfiltered what they would see as truths.
So what Zelensky said was interesting. You said optimistic. I would say more diplomatic. I was watching as Zelensky was talking, and I was watching Macron and Starmer's faces, because you could kind of see them off just like to the left of his head, and just like, okay, are they? Do they have a signal like cough twice if you're lying, or if you're just trying to what exactly it was? But Zelensky seemed pretty positive about what came out of that meeting today, which I was happy to see after seeing the pre-meeting, which was kind of not great. So yeah, it looked like it was better when they were behind closed doors. And so go ahead, Greg, you were about to say something.
Well, guys, Zelensky had to have a good meeting today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He had to. And The press conference prior to the private meeting told me everything that was going to unfold. And then the last statement told us everything that's going to unfold. Everything else is, in my opinion, a positive. We had an incredible roundtable of European leaders sitting there at the White House with the president of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful picture, and thankful for that. It was, the atmosphere was not heavy. It was light. They were able to communicate. But when it comes down to it, Tupolovs are in the air right now. The Navy just 3 minutes ago dropped their boats out into the Black Sea, loaded with Caliber class, already on the red. And it looks like if we have a launch tonight, the launch window is at 2:30 a.m. Ukraine time with a 3:50 a.m. arrival time into Ukrainian airspace from the launch deck. So the planes come to the launch decks. So in the big picture, yeah, we had a great cordial meeting. We looked at some maps. We could talk about security guarantees, but I've got news for you. If the United States says they're going to agree to security guarantees for Ukraine, and then Merloni talks about, well, it was Italy that actually started, Article 5, and it's Italy that started these things, and this is what we want to push for, something like that. All good conversation. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come right back around, and history is going to repeat itself because Russia will invade again. And what happens then? That is why Russia must be defeated. There's no other option.
Nobody's arguing with you that Russia ought not be defeated.
I know you're not arguing.
Pretty sure I'm not, and Johnny's not.
It's got to be defeat.
So I think you're misunderstanding what the meeting is today. The meeting is to talk about diplomatically how you're going to have progress without actually having any real details about how that's going to come together. So it's trying to say you're over here and you're over here, and let's get to here. And let's get to here, and I don't think this thing's going to be over this year.
Interestingly, Trump was saying, though, I think we'll have a deal by the end of the day. I mean, it's literally what he was saying today.
He also was going to solve it in the first day after he was elected. He's always over. Look, Trump never speaks for precision. He always speaks for a bombast and effect. Right. Yeah. This is the greatest. This is the hugest. So we're really close. We're not really close. No. Are we closer than before? Perhaps we inched, but
you inch. We're loaded in the air right now.
Yeah, I know. I don't think anything's going to happen anytime soon.
Why is Trump going to say we had a good meeting, and why is Zelensky going to say we have a good meeting?
Because
it is. Go ahead.
Diplomatically, I'm sorry, Johnny. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead, JP. You first. Then
I was just going to say, from a European point of view, it seems that, and this has actually been a topic of conversation for a couple of days now, that there were hints coming from Alaska that the Americans could provide or help to provide security guarantees. And this is super important. Now, this needs fleshing out a little bit. So, like Keir Starmer said, today could be a historic step. When we talk about the security of Ukraine, we're also talking about the security of Europe. We want to come up with something like Article 5 to prevent another invasion of Ukraine. Chancellor Merz says, I can't imagine the next meeting would take place without a ceasefire. So let's work on that, and let's try to put pressure on Russia because of the credibility of these efforts. Blah, 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 ceasefire. But you've had him and others talk also about security guarantees. Now, the problem is, and this is a problem with Marco Rubio last night, really fascinating interview with Kristen Welker on NBC Meet the Press, where Marco Rubio said a bunch of stuff, and some of it was half sensible. Some of it was, okay, I agree with that. Then Kristen Welker hit him with what he said in 2022. And he said in 2022, very explicitly, you cannot trust Putin. You can't do a deal with Putin. No one can do a deal with Putin, blah, blah, blah. And then she said, and now you come out from Alaska saying that you're hoping to do a deal with Putin. How do you square these things? And he said, and there is a kind of point to this. So he is either completely contradicting himself, or he's saying his response was, you can't do a deal with Putin unless you have really robust security guarantees so that Putin can't wriggle out of just signing a piece of paper and then going to war again. There needs to be significant deterrence to stop him from being this lying person that gets away with it. Now, the problem is, Rubio said that, and the next Truth Social that came out of Trump's mouth was no NATO, no Ukraine in NATO. So the very best security guarantee, that's the most robust deterrence for Russia, so that they don't attack after doing a peace negotiation, has been ruled out by Trump. And yet that's exactly the sort of thing that Rubio was intimating. So then when you go to Keir Starmer's saying we need something like Article 5, because he's obviously saying we can't have Article 5 because bloody Trump's ruled it out.
Yeah. So, well, they're trying to figure out some kind of way around that, but that's not the issue. Rubio, I think, understands what's actually going on, and he's trying to somehow fit his understanding of how the world works into a Trumpian framework that is going to malform it. Just trying to make it like he's trying to. It's like he has a batch of dough and he's trying to push it through a square peg, and it's coming out all weird because it's trying to go through a square hole to try to, and it just doesn't fit like it otherwise would have. You said Rubio. I thought about Nixon. Nixon actually said the Soviets will only follow their agreements if it benefits the Soviets. And I think that's what we need to be looking for. So there's got to be an agreement that will benefit them by this is, if you follow this is going to go well for you. A negative way of looking at that would be like, look, if the triggering device was, if you cross that border for any reason after this, then they're automatically in NATO. We've already signed off on it. All you have to do is set foot across the border, lob a missile across the border or whatever it is. So there has to be something stronger than what there was before. Go ahead, JP.
But this is what's really irritating, Greg, is that the single best thing for Ukraine, for the United States, is for Ukraine to be in NATO. Because literally, I mean, if you're actually serious about Ukraine not being attacked again, then literally the cheapest way, like honestly, I'm getting quite angry now. It makes me freaking frustrated. Like the American president goes, we don't want them in NATO, when the alternatives are way more expensive. If you want to put troops in Ukraine, that's very expensive. Like, putting troops on the ground is crazy expensive. Ukraine in NATO is virtually free, right? It's literally, you just change the paperwork, you get them in NATO, then you have the advantage of bringing one of the most experienced armed forces in the world with superb innovation, with great knowledge of how to do modern warfare using drones, and you bring them into NATO. NATO benefits. The world benefits. Ukraine doesn't get attacked because Article 5 is in place, and no one's spending a bloody penny.
Johnny, I'm not that kind of doctor, but let me help you with your blood pressure. Trump will be out of office in 3 years. A next president, whether he is liberal or whether he is a Reagan conservative, would probably be much more amenable to Ukraine and NATO. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Trump will be out in 3 years. So set the groundwork and work toward it. I mean, just give it time.
Listen, let's make it really easy. Donald Trump tonight, and we're trying to stay on topic with this meeting, and I'm keeping you guys updated with the potential attack. He stated in the Oval Office that the Patriots in Ukraine or in the world, they're the best weapon system in the world, and they take out 100% of targets. Well, maybe not 100%, but 99%. And I just quoted, okay, the Patriots in Ukraine do not take out 99% of the KN-23s. I'm sorry, it's not happening. So the reason, Johnny, to answer your question is because Donald Trump really believes that the United States has the greatest technology, the greatest weapons. And listen, I'm an American and I love my country, and don't mess with our Navy, don't mess with our Air Force. But when it comes to technology and drones, we're woefully behind. That's just a fact. And somebody needs to get in his head and say, listen, we have so much to gain from Ukraine being in NATO. We have so much to gain from this friendship, and a real friendship. My concern in reality is today, once again, it's just the Putin talking points. And we went from ceasefire. Yeah, we agree with ceasefire. And multiple times today, at least, I wrote them all down, at least 6 times. Well, I stopped 6 wars and I did them all without ceasefire. So, we don't need ceasefires. So we can just figure out a way to end this. I've stopped 6 wars. I thought this one would be the easiest to end, and I'm quoting, and I don't want to quote him, but this would be the easiest, but it's turning out to be the most difficult. And, but that ceasefire, I don't think we need that. Well, that is a Putin talking point. Additionally, what happened to the rhetoric of 50 days? And then we went to 10 days, and we're going to cripple you with sanctions. Where did Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal go from standing in Kyiv shouting, "Down with you, Russia. Let me get back to Washington, and in July, it's over for you. China, you're going down if you're spending that blood money to destroy this beautiful Ukraine." Where did you go, Lindsey? 36 hours ago, you said, I think by December we can get something done. You coward from South Carolina. You coward. Now, you take it a step further. Where are the sanctions?
Yeah. So two things I'd like to address here. In the chat, people keep saying Gerdes, and then they'd ask me something about to defend why I'm defending something about Trump or why Trump does this. Or you realize I'm not a Trump guy, right? Like, you need to pay more attention, because I'm not defending Trump. I am trying to explain what I see here. So now with that, the next thing that it strikes me as, when JP is talking about the recency effect and things like that, about how Trump acts, or Johnny will say he's incompetent and whatever, and he'll go on and on. I just think he's like more FDR than FDR. He's more pragmatic than even our most known to be pragmatic president, in the sense that he just goes this way or that way or this way or where, but he's getting blown by the wind because he really doesn't have an internal compass where, and I've said this before, Barack Obama, you could tell that he was going to go this way. George W. Bush, you could tell he was going to go that way. It's not so with Trump. And his trying to make these pragmatic, and some people will say transactional decisions, because he's very transactionally driven. That's at the core of why he's all over the place. I guess maybe in real estate dealings, that might be a good thing. Here, it creates a great deal of uncertainty politically. And so, yeah, that's where, if I'm trying to explain him, like if I was trying to explain Trump to an alien, that's how I would try to explain him. But that's not defending him. So please, like, you can stop being annoyed with me that I'm defending Trump, because I'm really not.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to
Agreed.
say this. And by the way, what I'm going to do with some of the super chats is I will show them without necessarily talking about them, so people can see them and we can give our thanks to those people, and maybe we'll just list them at the end, because
Johnny,
there are going to be so many, as there are 3 channels.
Thanks, Johnny. But before you go there, I just want to keep people updated with everything I'm reading quickly. Bild now reporting, and Ukraine confirming that the call to Putin did not take place jointly with Zelensky and the European leaders, but in the Oval Office where they're meeting now, or it may be over, but I think they're still meeting. Trump paused that meeting, walked out to have a phone call with Putin now, while all of this is unloading in the air.
I'm reading that Trump interrupted negotiations with European leaders.
So that's what's happening. Ukraine is very ticked off about that, because this was supposed to be the day he's spending with them. And the Ukrainian media is going, okay, you're going to walk out of our conversation to go talk to the bloody dictator.
I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. If he can get,
I don't either, but
if he can get Putin on the phone, I don't think Putin wants to agree.
No, I disagree.
No, you disagree? Tell me why.
Like, you have to give time for people to flesh out the detail that's needed. Like, you can't shoot from the hip when you're talking about diplomacy that is this complex, involving this many moving parts, and by that I mean all the European leaders there, and actually, and you're halfway through discussing what's going on, and then Trump goes, right, I'm going to phone Putin. It's going to be great. We're going to solve it, and Putin doesn't pick up.
But you're making an assumption here that they're only halfway through, assuming
that's
that they are
reported.
Assuming that they do have a sense of it. I don't know that it's a bad thing.
But why not wait 2 hours? It is a bad thing. No, like I honestly,
because he could report right back to him and say, well, what do you think, guys? Here's what he told me. I mean, I'm just trying to put the best face on.
And I get, I do get.
Wait a second. Let's take it one step further. What if, okay, so I think we're comfortable saying that that Trump is on the phone with Putin right now, or they've talked, or it's within the last few minutes. What if the potential air alarm that's happening, because the Tupolovs are in the air, the ships are in the sea, and there's no attack tonight? Is he going to now come out and say, hey, okay, I talked to him, we backed it down because we're still talking about this thing? There's so many, and I'm reading that straight from the Ukrainian analysts that I follow. They're going, okay, we need to watch this very closely because this can be used and utilized over the next 24 hours as things flush out.
So here's a problem, and Prof, this might go some way to kind of answering your question. We also need to understand what Trump's biggest motivation is here. So I'll ask you two, what do you think Trump's biggest motivation is in these meetings?
Closer to the precious, which is the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay, spot on. So as far as I'm concerned, so this is interesting. So Ivo Dalda, former US ambassador to NATO, Trump is not the peacemaker he claims to be. US President Donald Trump's desire to win the Nobel Peace Prize has defined the foreign policy since he returned to power. Unfortunately, his aspirations to become the world's leading peacemaker is based on a profound misconception that peace is simply the cessation of hostilities. Despite Trump's claim of 6 wars ending in 6 months, most of his successes are either exaggerated or have no real fulfillment. His failures were here where he promised the most in Ukraine and Gaza are particularly telling, but instead of peace, the situation has only worsened. And when you then understand that he said this morning, I'll get this solved, he said today we should, I'm hoping for an agreement today.
He said, Zelensky, you can end the war today, quote.
Yeah, and that as well. But he also said he was hoping for an agreement by the end of today's meetings. Like, I think you understand that better when you realize that he wants, and he said he wants a quick peace. He said in one of his Truth Social posts, he wants a quick peace rather than a ceasefire. He wants a quick peace negotiation is better than a ceasefire. And I would wholeheartedly disagree with that because a quick peace is a bad peace for Ukraine. But he's so desperate for a quick peace. He says, he's still saying we'll get this solved within today. And I bet you that's why he left the meeting in the middle of the meeting and goes to phone Putin. He is absolutely freaking desperate to get something so he can show it to the world, rather than like someone like Mertz would be sitting there going, okay, let's talk about the strategy, let's get this right, and be thinking about what's best for Ukraine and Europe, right? And America, right? So Trump is not sitting there thinking what is best for Ukraine, for Europe, for the US, and for global strategizing. He's sitting there going, I want my Nobel Peace Prize. And once you understand that's his main motivator, all of his activities make sense.
Can you imagine the conversation if just for some reason they were in a private room and no media, there's no media, I assume, but no other people were there. And he goes, excuse me, guys, I need to walk out and call Putin. What would Zelensky and those European leaders be talking about? Wouldn't that be interesting to hear?
Yeah, no.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
They're all like, oh my God, what a knob. Like, yeah. Like, yeah.
So why does Trump think this was a good meeting today? It looks good. We're all talking about it. The world watched today. Great
point, Greg.
Yeah, and he's going to want more of that. I'm not sure he wants to end it right away either. I think you're saying he wants a quick peace. I think he wants more attention.
He loves being in the middle of it. Yeah,
he loves it. So just listen. So I watched every minute of this, and daggone it, I want to say what I wrote. Listen, they were able to blame Joe Biden for the war again. He was,
of course.
Okay. He was also asked, and Zelensky, and neither one of them asked, okay, which one of you has better cards? All right, back to the February meeting. Okay. Ducey asked Zelensky, are you going to surrender, or are you going to relinquish territory or solve the territorial issue, or are you going to continue?
Yeah, that was such a horrible
their deaths.
What a terrible way to answer that
horrible question.
I've never really had any issues with Ducey, but I haven't seen him be that one-sided ever. But wow, that was profoundly bad. As a journalist, it's embarrassing. Like, I'd be embarrassed if I were him to ask that question that way.
Yeah. I personally feel, and I could be completely wrong, but I do not believe it was by accident that Fox News' Peter Ducey had the first few questions. And I do not believe, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do not believe that that question was not asked hoping to get some type of response out of Zelensky.
Yeah.
And daggone it, he did a great job. Once again, they were able to ask about the root causes. That came from Russian media. He dealt with the reporter on the suit. Zelensky was able to respond to that. That kind of settled out the suit. I mean, it becomes such a huge story today, whether Zelensky's going to wear a tie or not. And we're trying to figure out how to get peace in Ukraine.
Greg, before you go on, can we just flesh out that Ducey question? Because it is so bad. Like, this is such an awful way to ask a question. So are you prepared? It's a false dichotomy. Are you prepared to keep sending Ukrainian troops to their death for another couple of years, or are you going to agree to redraw the map? So Ducey is saying you've got two options. One, you redraw the map and give Russia everything they want, or two, is essentially saying you murder Ukrainian people. There's no understanding of what Russia's role in this is, and there is just like, it's an absolutely horrible question, and I think he should be beaten with a wet fish for at least a couple of weeks for saying. I mean, it's honestly something heavier and more hurty than a wet fish.
They continued, and Donald Trump was able to speak about the fake news and the fake media and how the media is against him. And no matter, even he went back to the Moscow and St. Petersburg. Even if that was to happen, I would still be the bad guy in this. Everything is fake. Then he was able to move to DC is peaceful now. You can go to a restaurant and have dinner, and everything is great. He was able to get his own American talking points out while the entire world was watching. So he then went on to the Patriots. We make the best weapons in the world, 99% to 100%. And one thing we have not talked about yet is where he reiterated 3, 4, 5 times that the United States would be able to sell weapons to NATO.
That's an important domestic thing for the MAGA crowd that is okay with them selling it. They're not okay with the war, but they're okay with them selling it, but they're not okay with them giving it. So that's a talking point. I prefer that he'd be able to just give the aid, but sell it at minimum. like get it to Ukraine at one way or another.
He was also able, he being Donald Trump, was able to say that once again under Biden, it was crazy. We wouldn't be here if I was president. And yes, it was $350 billion. And for those in here that are in the chat, you watched every minute of this. You heard him say this. We're making more progress right now in 2 months than Biden made in 3 years. And then the mail-in ballot questioning, which Johnny, you wanted to talk about for a moment. He spent over 5 minutes talking about that, but that's actually a talking point that Putin gave him.
So this is what's interesting about this, and Alex Vindman talks about this. Who is, of Ukrainian descent himself. And I think he's spot on here. So what you've got to do is understand that, forget the actual details of mail-in ballots and what. I mean, it's all a load of rubbish. He said no other country other than the US does it. Well, dozens of countries do mail-in ballots. The UK does. My in-laws, my partner's parents vote every election by mail-in ballot. And there's no problem at all. So anyway, but forget the details of that. It's the idea that he is saying that precisely because he was primed by Putin. And actually, this is insanely dangerous. So the CIA should be crapping bricks at the moment, about this. This is bad. So Alex Vindman is absolutely spot on here when he said, because by the way, it's not just that Trump said this today and spent a long time talking about it in the meeting you're just saying, the presser you're just saying, but the torrent of what he said on Truth Social and the all caps ranting was insanely vociferous. But anyway, Alex Vindman says this is a perfect example of an effective influence campaign. After a meeting with Putin, where Putin questioned the legitimacy of mail-in ballots, Donald Trump launches a campaign to end mail-in ballots. I don't think many people understand how easy it is to puppeteer Trump. Honestly,
hold on, let me interrupt you. Now, this isn't just that. This has been something that's been a bee under his bonnet for a long time, based on the rigged elections, as he talks about, and that sort of thing. Mail-in ballots have been a talking point for a long time. It's only exacerbated by Putin. It's not a new thought planted into his head.
So yes and no. So it has been a thing recently, but weirdly, actually, mail-in ballots were prior to COVID actually beneficial for Republicans.
But he opposed it even before that election.
Yeah,
he said this is going to be a disaster. Like I remember, I watched.
Absolutely. But no, my point is that he has not talked about it for the last couple of months, and it has not been something that he's campaigning on. Right?
It's been back burner. That's fair.
No, yeah.
That's
like
fair.
as in he's not actually said I am going to lead a movement. So he says here I am going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots, and also while we're at it, highly inexpensive voting machines. Right? So he's going to get rid of voting machines and mail-in ballots, and he's saying that front on. And he's saying it precisely because Putin primed him the other day. So that is a foreign leader, an enemy foreign leader in old terms, priming your president to do a policy decision that ostensibly benefits Putin, right? And if you are the CIA looking at this, like this should be 5 alarm bells ring. You know, this is our president has in real time, while we've been watching, been manipulated to do something very clearly by a foreign leader that looks like
if this was a brand new issue, I might agree with you, but he was talking about this. I remember him talking about this before the 2020 election and being like, what's the big deal with mail-in ballots? Not knowing that when he lost, he was going to be complaining about all the, it's a rigged election, it's a hoax, but he was talking about it much more than you would have thought.
I absolutely no. I know how much he talked about it. I followed the kind of rigged election claims very closely, but it's not something that he's talked about recently. And now it is top of the agenda, and voting machines are on the way out as well. And this is huge.
I think we can agree on that. Vladimir Putin last week had a conversation with Donald Trump about the fallacy of mail-in voting, and now it becomes a talking point for Donald Trump. That's
which is absolutely crazy coming from you don't have a democracy with mail-in voting coming from Putin,
who also has mail-in voting.
2 billion on a rigged election.
Correct. Let me tell you this, guys. The Pierre, I'll give you the update in just a second. Mertzi, what's up, brother? And I can see you changed your name to Ukrainian. Good job. But let me tell you guys, the meeting just ended. My head flipped for a minute because my wife was messaging me on my phone saying she's loving the three of us and we're doing a great job. But let me give my wife a kiss there in the U.S.
I thought that's me.
No, I kiss you on the forehead. I kiss her on the lips.
You're a good guy, but
I only shake Prof's hand, but that was for my wife there. So she was messaging me going, you three are doing a good job and we're learning from you. So that's good. That's what we want. But the meeting is now ended, and we know that it was just about 15, 20 minutes ago. I told you that it was confirmed Trump went out to call Putin. Now, whether or not that call happened or not, I don't know. I would assume so, that the president of the United States wants to talk to President of Russia. It happens, but I don't know. But I can tell you now the meeting's over. So even if he did talk to Putin and then came back, that would have been a very short conclusion. I mean, it's just by looking at logical time. So we shall see.
All right, actually, coming back to this thought, will Putin actually agree to a trilateral meeting or a meeting with Zelensky anytime soon? I can't see it.
I can't. I'm with you, Prof. I think he might talk about it, might put it off.
I think he'll talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, but
I don't think he'd want to. Yeah.
Okay, it was very interesting. And guys, I sat here in this chair and watched all of this, every minute of it, so I would be fully prepared. Okay, now we've moved to the round table with the European leaders. And sitting over there was Rubio and Vance, and I think Hegseth. I know definitely Rubio and Vance, and you had the chairs lined up then around the table.
It was in order of cabinet, seniority of cabinet, State Department after Vice President, then Secretary of Treasury. That's next in order. This is also the line of succession in the United States. If you watch that, it would be Vance, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, and then Defense.
Speaker of the House after the Vice President.
But the Speaker of the House wasn't there.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
So
okay,
they put him in order. Go ahead.
I'm not going to argue with you on the Constitution, I promise you. So here we go, guys. They came around that table. Donald Trump had a pre-written statement. He was reading it. So I noticed those things. And then what was interesting is he introduced everybody. They were able to give their 30, 60, 90 seconds. It was at least half the table called him Donald. And for me, I thought that was interesting. Thank you, Donald.
Yeah.
It wasn't thank you, President Trump. It wasn't thank you, Mr. Trump. It was thank you, Donald. So I paid attention to that. I don't know what to take from it, but I paid attention to it.
The strategy was clear, though. I mean, they were trying to show that they're just as friendly, if not more friendly, than anything that Putin is. And they were all saying, you know, it's only because of you.
Hold on. No. Wasn't it at the end of the speech on Friday in Alaska that Donald looked at him and called him Vladimir? So now they're calling him Donald. I just think it's interesting. Okay, so then here's what Trump said. I know that Putin will agree to security guarantees. He's already told me. Okay, but guys, you have to understand, Putin wants to give security guarantees to to Ukraine. He wants to bring Ukraine back into the fold. That's the security guarantees that Russia ultimately wants. It's not that we won't attack you anymore. Give us these 4 regions in Crimea and we're going to be peaceful forever. No, it is Russia wants to bring Ukraine back into their sphere of influence to reestablish, a large portion of that Soviet Union. So, Trump then said, okay, we know we're going to have to deal with a possible exchange of territory. And then he says, if this is good for you guys here, the EU, if this is good for Zelensky and it'll be good for Putin, we can try to set up a trilateral meeting. And then it was interesting to me, he said this, I can be there if you want me to be there. Okay, if a trilateral meeting, sir, you're there. The last time I checked, and then Zelensky said, yeah, we want you to be there. And then he reiterated no ceasefire. And he said, Zelensky and Putin can talk about a ceasefire. So I just tried to really pay attention to all the statements. Peace agreement is a possible without a ceasefire. And he says, as I walk out the door after this meeting, there probably will be a new war starting somewhere. Then I need to stop that one too. Once again, lobbying for the Peace Prize. And he said, around this table is a good group of people. No, it's a great group of people. And then Zelensky was able to reply first. Good conversation with Trump. Hopefully, we'll have more in the future. We talked about security guarantees. And very important, we talked about humanitarian issues, which is exchange of prisoners and the return of our children, including civilians and journalists that are in Russian prisons. And then he said all sensitive things on territories can be discussed on a trilateral meeting. And I made it very clear to President Trump about the battlefield details. And that's when he went in and said, the map was really cool. Can I have that one? So Trump then replied directly to Zelensky in the table. I think we'll see that Putin wants to work in a positive way. There's already going to be 1,000 prisoner exchange, I think, maybe tomorrow. And, maybe we'll have a good meeting with Putin. We shall see. And just like my buddy told me, and I'll be done, who's right in the other room, before all of this started 4 or 5 hours ago, he says, in 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, we will know if we will get this ended. Possible or maybe not possible. We'll give it our best shot. I think that's where we're at.
Okay. That's a good summary. That's a good play-by-play.
I mean, I just want people to know play-by-play. For me, Putin cannot be rewarded.
No.
Well, and that's really the crux of it, right?
Correct.
So when Peter Ducey's asking that silly question, which was tantamount to, have you stopped beating your wife, right? I mean, you could have asked it as in reverse. Are you going to really allow are you going to allow the subversion of international law for the first time on your watch? I mean, is that going to be your legacy? That international law was just decimated and we can't move forward without might making right in the world and a nuclear arms race? You could have asked it that way just as well.
The phrasing of Trump's True Social post last night about it is necessary for, where he reposted it wasn't his words, but it might as well have been. It is necessary for Ukraine to give up territory unless they want to lose even more territory. It's like you might as well tell, like I said to my audience, you might as well tell all homeowners in the US, you might as well, everyone that's house is being burgled, it is necessary that you give some of your property away in order that you don't lose any more, rather than let's stop the burglars going to people's houses, rather than let's try and uphold the rule of law, rather than let's try and help the people in our neighborhoods. It's like, no, give the burglars what they want. It is necessary that you have to do that. I found that absolutely egregious that he said that. Absolutely egregious.
The two last things, and one thing that we have not addressed, and I have it written down, it's my last thing that I wrote down, that was actually stated by the Russian Foreign Ministry before the talks, and then Russian Foreign Ministry reiterated and even said that this was coming from the Kremlin. And that was, Putin was reiterating that no foreign troops would be permitted inside Ukraine, and Russia would see this as a serious escalation and would not work us towards peace. So that was reiterated multiple times during these meetings. And then finally, I'll just say this.
Korean.
Well, you know, it's not even logical, guys, to talk about sitting around a table in front of the world stage, and we have an agreement to work on an invading nation returning kidnapped children.
Right? Yeah.
And in the same conversation, you can say that the president or the sovereign leader of that nation who is kidnapping children wants peace. It's not.
Yeah. The way that I frame it, Johnny, you tell me if I'm wrong here. The way that I frame it is Trump makes a lot of sense if you take any morality out of it.
Yeah, so Trump is very transactional, and also, like, he does occasionally say things you think might be imbued with morality, such like, I really want to stop the killing. But when you understand the decisions he makes, he's not really interested in stopping the killing. So he understands what he needs to say, I think. But I find that he's devoid of any real moral character. I mean, like, if you listen to the things he says, he's very, very rarely shows empathy. And empathy is one of the, I mean, I could start getting a bit philosophical and psychological and talk about free will and all sorts and whether it exists or whatever. But in terms of like moral behavior, empathy as a psychological trait underwrites moral behavior. Like, if you have no empathy, you can't imagine what someone, like, if I can't imagine what it would feel like for someone else to be punched in the face, then I'm going to have less of a veto on myself to punch someone in the face, because I don't understand, I can't feel that I can't imagine what they would feel, right? And there's some people that have like empathy issues actually have to kind of learn morality rather intuitively feel and develop morality, right? Yeah. So empathy is really important. So if we can agree that Trump doesn't really have much empathy, then he's going to struggle to, I think, show adequate morality, ordinary morality. And I think that's also clearly evidenced by pretty much everything he does and says. Like, nothing he does and says in terms of the big, beautiful bill, in terms of this, in terms of that, is seen in what he really wants to, like, he doesn't feel for the American people. He feels for himself and his family and his in-group, and he just wants to grift on the back of that. And he wants to do things that benefit him, not benefit the people of the nation.
So I want to go back to your empathy point here. There's academic research about this, that power is inversely correlated with empathy. So the more power that you have, the less empathy you're likely to feel. This is, you go back to Adam Galinsky's research from University of Pennsylvania. And there, I mean, it doesn't take a lot. It can take a very little. Like, I've heard my 9-year-old talking to her 6-year-old little sister. Well, you know, when I was your age, I mean, it doesn't take much power at all, but power is inversely correlated with empathy.
Yeah, 100%. And that, you know, that's why so many sociopaths or so many CEOs end up, you know, turns out they're sociopaths. And it's like, yeah, okay, you know.
I'd like to just throw one thing in here, Johnny, then we can get to some of the questions and comments that we need to.
And I've got to roll pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, it's 12:15 here, so, but I'm good. But is it interesting to you? Is it interesting to you fellows that Poland was not issued an invitation?
I was trying to work out whether there were invitations.
They were not. Poland was not invited.
Well, yeah, but it seems to me that, like, so when we were finding out who was going, it was like, oh, this person's going. Oh, this person's now going. Oh, this, and it sounded like people were just inviting themselves. Like, just like I know
it was hard to work out who
Rubio.
was.
Yeah, Rubio said we invited them, but I'm not sure that really happened. Like, I think this
no
kind
Rocky
of
nor Tufts received an invitation. I just checked the Polish news before I asked that question, and we know that Noraki has close ties to Trump with a lot of thought processes.
Yeah.
But the reality is, this is from Polish media, and there may be Poles in here watching right now. They were not invited. So I find it interesting. I don't know what to think about it, but I find it interesting.
So I have a totally different question. I saw a number of things about Belarus. Do you know anything about Belarus kind of going on to?
Yeah, there's some rumors about like troops amassing on the Belarusian border, but I haven't had a chance to look in more detail.
It's been drowned out in all the other news. I mean, there's sometimes you got to understand, folks, sometimes the news, like you can't, whatever the prevailing thing is in the news, it's hard to find the other stories because it's just drowned out by so much. Some days are feast and famine. Like, this is a feast day, like so much about the main event that. So Belarus apparently going to like martial law, perhaps, or something along those lines. But I don't know anything about it, so I can't speak to it.
Yeah, I don't know enough yet, but I just seen that there were potentially some troops amassing on the border, and that was a worry. But yeah,
in Ukraine, we're not really seeing anything about that. So I can tell you that from here.
Okay. Yeah. So there was just a few. Well, not as few. I've shown some of the other super chats. So thank you very much, and the very many gifts of memberships. Super generous. Everyone is so lovely.
Yes.
Here is Alistair Fitchie. Would it be possible for Europe to sanction Trump if he continues supporting Putin? He's got a few failing golf courses we could sell off. The problem is, I mean, I've had this discussion with one of my viewers the other day, who was like, Europe really needs to get a backbone and stand up to the US, and etc. And I was actually advocating that Europe is probably still in a stage, and justifiably so, where they are ready and willing to polish Trump's boots at the moment. Like, you have to, they're still in these suck up to Trump because the benefits outweigh the negatives. Like, if you stand up to Trump now, like, imagine if Europe went in, stood up to Trump, said, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. We need to stand on our own 2 feet. Screw you, Trump. You're Putin's buddy. Trump just goes the other way. Like, he's not going to join BRICS, but he will start pulling support for Ukraine, etc., etc. So the European leaders are, until it's useful enough for them not to do it, they will still polish Trump's boots. And I don't think that's going to change soon, because the US are that important. They provide that many things. Even if they are only selling stuff to Ukraine, they are providing satellite imagery and intelligence and stuff that is incredibly vital.
Now you want to keep them in your corner if you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the longer this goes on,
confirmation right now that Vladimir Zelensky, President Zelensky, was grateful in this meeting, and he thanked specifically Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and the United States 12 times.
Of course. Yeah.
He led with that. He started with that. I just want to thank you for first sentence out of it. Yeah.
But yeah. So it shakes hands. Go to shake hands. No. Thank you, everyone, American people, but Donald Trump. Thank you. Mark from the Little Whiskey Shop. I'm drinking
my friend
here, Mark. So thank you.
We're gonna Eve.
Yeah, and we're hopefully going to come out to Ukraine and drive some trucks out in the near future. But I've been so insanely busy last few days, I've just been unable to commit to like working this out. Anyway, sorry, Mark. Greg and Prof, how did it feel as Americans to see Trump put out the red carpet and clap a wanted war criminal? Is appeasement justified in your opinion? So it's rather like we just been talking about, do you clean someone's boots in order to achieve, like, was it justified that Trump acquiesced to Putin, the war criminal?
This is precisely the wrong strategy. Could you see Reagan doing that to Gorbachev?
No. Yeah,
I'm glad you said that.
You can see
Reagan going to meet him, have a stand up, shake his hand, and then have a conversation and really talk about his points and uphold his side, but not this stuff. Yay! I'm so glad to see you. Oh, like Trump is like glowing, being look at me. I'm standing here with Putin.
Oh, he was a fanboy. He's a fanboy. And one thing for sure, Ronald Reagan can walk a straight line, but that's a topic for another day. Now, with that said, to answer your question, my friend Mark, I wanted to puke on the floor. It's disgusting because it just shows me that, unfortunately, Donald J. Trump, the president of the United States, really has no clue who Vladimir Putin is. He has a persona of him. I mean, guys, look at the White House. It looks like the stinking Kremlin now with all the gold fixtures, okay? And it's just, to me, it's like a fanboy, and I just wanted to puke at that because I see the reality, and Johnny, you've seen the reality, and Prof, you see it through us and through media, but this place is scorched earth because of Vladimir Putin.
Yeah. I have a serious question for you, and then I got to bail. Do you think that Trump thinks that he is using Putin, like using him for his own ends, for his Nobel Peace Prize ambitions? Or do you think that he feels like he is just a great friend and we're in a, which way do you see him? Because
the latter.
I'm torn.
Oh, not me. He idolizes him.
Yeah. I don't think he doesn't see, like, if you ask him, oh, do you think you can manipulate Trump? He'll say Putin. He'll probably say yeah. But in reality, I don't think he's thinking in that way.
Okay, so he'll do this for me, kind of thing.
Yeah,
you think that is a sign? Okay,
that's the narcissism in him as well. So that's like, I think he's a narcissist, but I don't think he's like so kind of sociopathic that he. I don't think he's got that much strategizing. I just think he does it. Like, I go back to what Fiona Hill says. He just does it on vibes. He thinks I can win this conversation just by vibing it.
Well, I mean, everyone right, left, and center thinks he's a narcissist. He thinks he's a narcissist. He thinks he's the biggest narcissist of them all. He's the hugest. So, yeah.
The reality is, I do believe that Donald Trump thinks he can manipulate Vladimir Putin. But
that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, he does, but he absolutely idolizes him. And
maybe both simultaneously.
And the reality is, Vladimir Putin is he's trained to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It is not like Johnny says is a feeling or a vibe. He is the one playing. So when I say that Trump feels he can manipulate Putin or play Putin, or he's doing it for me, that's the narcissist in him.
So that's the narcissist in him. Greg, so when that hot mic incident earlier, when he says he's doing that for me, that my answer to Greg's question is, I think, confirmed, or at least defended by him saying that. Like, he's doing that for me isn't like I've manipulated him to do that. He's doing that for me because he likes me. Like, why wouldn't Putin like me? I'm the best, right? So Putin loves me.
But he's still
Putin. You could talk about that as manipulation, but I don't think he sees it more in the way that I can bend Putin's will because
so whether
he loves me rather than I'm going to
manipulation. Trump thinks that he can bend Putin's will. Is that let's just use that.
He's so amazing. Like, Trump he's got this fallacy of invincibility where he just thinks like whatever I do is amazing and wherever I go I'm a winner. And if I interact with Putin, he can't but do what I want because I am amazing. Rather than, I don't know if I'm amazing or not, but I'm going to sit down and try and work out what Putin's trigger points are, and then do some strategizing about what I can do to say that would get Putin. No, I don't think he thinks like that. I think
no. I don't think he's thinking deeply. I think he thinks though that Putin will do this for me, and I can make this make. Yeah,
I think we have a repetitive history in the first 6 months of this term where we have seen Donald Trump and multiple times say, Okay, well, this guy likes me. I mean, we've even heard him say that about P. Diddy getting out of prison. Well, P. Diddy used to like me, but then he didn't like me. And it was all about that liking, or they love me. So, Johnny, I think you're spot on right there.
Yeah.
He feels that Putin likes him. And because he likes me, I think he'll do it for me. I think he'll
if you
stop
listen
for
to
me.
all of Trump's conversations ever, all his rallies, listen to how often he talks about how other people like him. Like he requires this validation consistently, where he just is always talking in terms of how good he is through the eyes of other people. And if that's how he thinks, and if that's what drives him, then he can't help but think now of Putin. Putin will do what I want him to do because he likes me that much because I'm so freaking likable.
Okay. Last little question here. What happens next? What do you think?
Before I answer, because this, I want to just put Mark's question to bed, as in, thank you, Mark, a brilliant question. But he ended, how far should we prostitute ourselves to get peace? I just wanted to make the single point that Europe prostituting itself to Trump is different than Trump doing that to Putin. So,
for a different end.
Because we're allies. No, I think it is very different, because if we're allies, we'll polish your boots, keep you on side, but we're all kind of hopefully singing off the same sort of song sheet, sort of. Whereas if he's doing that to Putin, and Putin is a murderous, dictatorial, warmongering, war criminal, then I think that's disgusting, right? And you shouldn't prostitute yourself in that way. So I can justify EU doing it, but I wouldn't justify Trump doing it. Anyway, sorry, just wanted to
three minutes. I gotta go. Seriously,
the chat going by so fast.
Where do we go
somebody just said maybe Trump is just an insecure person. He obviously absolutely is an insecure person.
Okay.
So where do we go
Gentlemen,
from here?
Where do we go from here?
I'm going to be starting a fundraiser and heading to Sumy to help some new heroes up there that are critically in need of supplies. And this war will continue, and Ukraine will not give up their land. So here we would say you have a two-peak. Okay, we have a dead end, and the dead end is it's Ukrainian territory that Russia has stolen. And Russia says it's theirs because it's in their constitution. So we have a two-peak, a dead end.
Because the Ukrainian constitution doesn't count because it's made up or something, right? I mean,
well, not only that, Ukraine's not going to give their land up, guys.
Right,
and here's the deal. It's not only about the constitution, but we've lost a lot of guys. Yep. And it's terrible. And I was having coffee with a soldier 2 nights ago, and he looked me in the eye and says, Craig, I'm ready for all these meetings to be over because we can get back to fighting and defending and liberating our country. I've had too many friends die, and I'm not giving up my land.
Mm-hmm. Johnny, 1 minute. Where do we go from here?
What do you mean? Like, where does the war
what
go
happens
from here?
next?
Or where did these? What
does this lead to?
Diplomatically,
everything we talked about.
I really don't know. I'm hoping that Europe and Zelensky have managed to get Trump back on side. What I don't want is a repetition of the 4 points, or 5 points really. So can't join NATO, have to give up land, Crimea's gone. You have to finish the war as quickly as possible. If Trump is going to continue saying that, then we've got a problem that is more sustained than right now, and Europe still have work to do. Like, if Trump can put that to bed and then start thinking in terms of, actually, let's not give away, because you've got to understand that Trump is saying, I demand these 5 things of you, and then you're going to go into negotiations. Like, no, those are the things you negotiate over. Like, it irritated the heck out of me this morning and last night, because, as you can imagine, and he did this before Trump. The art of the deal. Trump is the worst deal maker on earth. Like, he gives away all of Ukraine's leverage, demands that they give up their leverage before negotiations, and then says, and now you're ready to negotiate. And that's like, it's just terrible. So
do we ever get back to a ceasefire discussion?
So you have to. So, like, if Zelensky and Europe's, all of them have said this, and after Alaska they said this. All the European statements started with Trump, you're amazing. Number 2, ceasefire first.
Yeah.
Like, all of them. The Nordic.
Are we going to get back to that?
You have. So if I was Zelensky, I would say this is non-negotiable. You may have slagged off a ceasefire before, but we have to have a ceasefire first and then negotiate. And if that doesn't happen, I'm not interested. Now, Trump should be amenable to that because that was his position before Alaska.
100%, sir.
And yeah,
I will tell you guys right now, Ukrainian news reporting that the interview that Zelensky was supposed to do like he did last time with Brett Baer has now been canceled on Fox News.
Wow, that's interesting. All right. Well, with that, I
don't know why. I'm just telling you it's canceled.
I got to go. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Just before you go, I mean, it's going to be quite sad for T-Dog because apparently a stream without GP is a good stream. So I'm obviously, I don't make a good stream. Apologies, T-Dog, that I'm not your cup of tea.
I think it's the reflection off of your head that is blinding the audience.
Yes. Yeah.
Your holy glow. Remember, you have that holy angelic glow.
Yeah, you can't win over everyone, I guess.
Okay.
See you, Prof.
Take care, Prof. We've got to give our thanks and stuff and more chat. So, if that's okay with you, should we?
No problem.
Go through a couple of. Rick, thank you very much. I did show you that, but thank you.
Thank you, Rick, Netherlands, and yes. So, guys, he's talking about a few bucks for gas and some grub and a cup of coffee. Stay safe there. Cheers, Rick. Thank you, Rick. So, guys, just so you know, we will be heading out for the full frontline run here in just a few days. Never for OPSEC say when I'm leaving or when I'm going to be out. We go out midway right now, but we will be doing the full frontline here imminently. And I think this week there is a new group fighting that are in dire need of some of the simple things that we do that we can get instantly. So I'm going to be doing an instant fundraiser, meaning it'll just be like on a one-night live stream. And, on that, we're talking about specific needs, which really is batteries and sugar cubes. So anyway, so just stay tuned. We're going to be helping.
Andrew Scully, Greg, can you tell me if you were able to contact the Australian company AIM Defence?
I was not able to contact them, Andrew, but I did send your information on to my Ukrainian guys.
Cool beans.
Thank you.
F. Oink, who is Hungarian, Shishato shouldn't wine. Hungary has had 3 years to find alternate energy sources, but they were ideologically aligned, and that's a very good point. Petra Olsen, thank you. With love to Ukraine.
Swedish non-smoking initiative.
Absolutely. Ahmed Hamster, snacks and Pepsi for the road, Greg.
It's what I drink. Pepsi Zero. Thank you.
Big Swede's been very kind. Big Swede, Dick, they. New. So for our amazing soldiers, for anything they need, obviously that's for you, Greg, there.
Legendary Nunu, thank you. And Nunu is also in my Discord there. So if you guys are on here, make sure you join Johnny's Discord or my Discord. And a lot of good things happen in there. A lot of good talks.
I'd love to say I'm in there all the time, but goodness me, I struggle. Leslie Wilborn, thank you. Rudy Hermans for ATP Geopolitics memberships. Thanks to all the other memberships that have been given as well today. Big Swede again here. Salvo Ukraini, win. This is away. We have Bas Yipka Van Veen against the Russian aggressor. Absolutely. So I'm going to whiz through these because there are a number. But it doesn't mean that you are any less valued. Thank you. So thank you very much, Mary. Thank you very much, Petra Olsen, as well. And we have, Kenneth Sorensen. The fact is that Trump is to negotiate on behalf of Putin and is not a friend of Ukraine and Europe. Absolutely 100% agree there. Putin has no say in who joins NATO. Trump needs to pick a side and stick with his choice, says F. Oink. Rick, again, Ukraine should never give up land. Worst case is a ceasefire and a land dispute, hoping for a long-term political solution. What other options are there? F. Oink, don't presume Trump is out of office in 3.5 years. Very good and scary point. Trump did a 360 in Alaska. I mean, he's pretty good at doing, 180 is actually technically, not 360.
JP, really quickly, though, that's another thing. I didn't write this one down, but that's interesting because it was just a comedic moment, but you have to pay attention to them. It was in the White House tonight, and Zelensky was asked the question, would he be willing to have elections? Of course, they're trying to trip him. And
Yeah.
he said, of course, I'm going to have elections, but right now we're in a war and our Constitution doesn't allow for it. And we will have elections as soon as we have peace. It will take about 6 months to stabilize, to get the voting all set up so that people who live in a war zone and our soldiers can rightfully have their vote and their voice. And Donald Trump made the statement, oh, so if you have war, then you can stay as president. So just a little funny thing out there. So, because we always, you're hearing it, 2028, he's running again. So anyway, Belle Ogilvy, thank you for those 10 gifted memberships.
That is super kind. I just want to, when T-Dog had a go at me, this is Mark from Little Whiskey Shop. I had to nursemaid you for 2 weeks and I still love you. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. Anyway, moving on.
Explosions in Kharkiv 1 minute ago.
One point I did want to make earlier. So when I was talking about Article 5 earlier, Weeaboo here says, to be honest, Article 5 isn't as solid as people think. I would disagree with that. Article 5 is literally like ironclad solid, because no country in NATO has ever been attacked by non-NATO by another nation, right? It is literally the most successful defensive deterrence in the history of the world. Like, so we can try and pick apart Article 5 and talk about like issues to do with hybrid warfare and things around the side. But in terms of like, Russia's never attacked Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia since they've been in NATO. No NATO country has been attacked by Russia. Ukraine has. So I would suggest that just on form, it is actually pretty powerful, even though we can pick holes in NATO, no doubt.
One thing that I like to do, JP, and I know that people that are in my community, and we do so much stuff so often, as well as Prof, I like to give facts only. And we do some speculation on lies, but my videos are facts only. But I can tell you right now that it seems that Zelensky is still talking with Trump. So after the call to Putin, and this is even being confirmed by Ukraine right now. So tomorrow we could have some interesting information coming out. What we're hearing, what they're reporting right now, and I'm only trusting Ukrainian sources on this, is that Trump did call Putin, and now the reason the Fox News interview is canceled is because Trump and Zelensky are still continuing to talk. So who knows? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. EU has a mutual defense clause. NATO is not the only solution. Interesting point from Deval there. So thank you for that. Lindsey Graham, I said I lied to the people. Explain the lie later. About 7 years ago when I first heard that. Adam Brown's having a little pop at Lindsey Graham, which is, fairly justifiable. You can stop this at any time, is what the Spanish Inquisition told its victims. Ouch, Papa Dutch, good point. F-35s to Ukraine, absolutely. I wouldn't. I think all planes. Actually, I really do feel strongly that if we really focused hard and got Ukraine another 60, 70 planes. I know that sounds an awful lot, but F-16s, Gripens, and Mirages. I honestly think that would be insanely important, and the munitions to go with them. So what
it would be a game changer.
Yeah, it would absolutely. So Russia won Avdiivka because they use guided glide bombs. Ukraine is starting to use guided glide bombs quite a lot comparatively compared to what they were, and they are having great success with them. They're able to take out command nodes. They are there, but if you can start using them on frontline troops and hammering the Russian troops and logistics and accumulations, honestly, and then because we know that the Ukrainians can get close enough to do that, they are using pretty much all across the front line at different times guided glide bombs. You then have another 70 planes and the bombs to go with it. That it is honestly a game changer. Like
Ukrainians are reporting right now that Zelensky is standing strong on the no territory.
Good.
And the desire of Ukraine is a ceasefire before negotiations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's being reiterated that is Zelensky's position. And there's some other reports coming out that Zelensky's offering to purchase directly from Trump on some air defense, but I don't want to go with that one. But definitely, I trust these sources on the no territory as of right now, as of 12:39 a.m. Ukraine time.
Mark says, Prof. Trump is trying to appease Putin just like Chamberlain. If I am wrong, please correct me and prove me wrong. I think that's exactly what he's trying to do. But the question is, why is he trying to appease Putin? And part of that rationale is going to be in order to get the quickest end to this war that he possibly can, because that's his shortcut to a Nobel Peace Prize.
Agreed, Mark. And you know what's interesting, Johnny? We've talked this whole time. We've been live for an hour and 40 minutes. Of course, we're focused on that DC event, the communication there, the negotiations, what's going to be going forward. But, don't forget, guys, there's other big players in this that are connected that we're not talking about that has influence with the Russian perspective. And those are nations like China and now like India and Russia getting closer. India tweeting out today, Modi thanking Putin for his friendship specifically. And then, of course, we have the North Korean connection there, Iranian Shahed technology. So there's a lot of intricacies here that we haven't discussed. Yeah,
absolutely. And before I go on to this one, apparently Ukraine does promise to buy $100 billion in US weapons funded by Europe to secure Trump's guarantees for after peace with Russia, plus a $50
My sources are good, man, here in UA. I'm telling you.
Yeah, this is from the Financial Times, including plus a $50 billion drone deal. I don't know if that's the US drones from Ukraine or Ukraine drones from the US. FT also reports that Ukraine will not, as you said, accept any deal including territorial concessions to Russia and insist on a ceasefire as a first step towards a full peace agreement. Exactly what I was saying earlier, but it's pretty obvious. Ukraine has made clear its desire to purchase at least 10 Patriot air defense systems, as well as missiles and other equipment. So, that is obviously big news there. Trump is ruining his own chance at Nobel Peace Prize by siding with Putin and betraying Ukraine. As Norwegians, we will never accept that. I can't imagine he's going to genuinely get it. Trump is preparing for the DPRT, Dem People's Republic of Trump. I'm so tired of all the
Between
Trump
talk. I agree with. I'm tired of Trump talk too, and I'm looking forward to not talking about it. In regard to that, that is why now we wait. We wait to see what Zelensky says in the next 12, 24 hours.
Yeah, DJT needs to go to bed and squeeze his Putin doll. Putin dodges Zelensky outright, too scared of a leader who'll fight. He hides in the gloom like a rat in a room, exposed by Ukraine's steadfast light. That's almost a poem there, Parks White. Good. I should have said that in my New Zealand accent. Oh, yeah, mate. Oh, choice, mate. Oh, Putin dodges Zelensky outright, eh? Too scared of a leader who'll fight. He hides in the gloom like a rat in a room, exposed by Ukraine's steadfast light. Oh, yeah, mate. Oh, choice. Anyway, that's my New Zealand for you. I can see that Greg is clearly impressed. So James Banas here. Thank you very much on, I presume, Greg's behalf. So thank you. That's super, super generous. Who's a pop-in? No land to Russian invaders. Europe leads away. Let's hope so. It sounds like that is the way forward. 2 words, Slava Ukraini. Thank you, Dunk on you.
Dunk on you, one of our mods. And thank you to all the moderators. You guys have done an amazing job tonight. Thank you.
BME, thanks, man. Just a little to top the glass up with some Ukrainian wine from the little whiskey shop. I must get some more Ukrainian wine, Mark, so I'll be on to you for that. But thank you, BME, really generous. Papa Dutch, in 2 weeks, I will have 5 more cases of homebrewed ale. And Trump, he will be saying 2 weeks. At least I will have done something, trivial as it may be. I love this. Papa.
So, between Papa Dutch and F. Oink, buddy, I got the best commentators on the entire interweb. But it's interesting. You're drinking the wine. Papa Dutch is home making mash. And I am drinking crystal clear Carpathian water from the Carpathian Mountains.
Thanks to Dada for the Greg Terry memberships. Very kind. Grunching. If Ukraine can make their own ballistic... something I wanted to get onto, Greg. But let's
Pink Flamingo
first. Yes. So if Ukraine can make their own ballistic weapon on their own and Europe invests and produces these or those, then Ukraine can strike whatever in Mordor. Trump may bite on a wooden stick then. Now, so I was going to talk to you about Flamingo. So the Flamingo missile... for those who don't know, I'm going to talk about it in my military aid video, is a 3,000 kilometer ranged missile that can go at quite a clip that they've just shown test flights
tested inside Ukraine.
And they're now serially producing it. And this, I honestly think, is a game changer. It really is. It's super important. I've said for the whole of this war that they need to be conducting this war from a distance. All attacks on Russians should be done from a distance where you're not going to endanger any of your own soldiers, and missiles are the perfect thing. I mean, if you look at these images, you can see that there are now videos coming out of these flamingos, as they're called, being fired from ground-based launchers. They've got 3,000-kilometer range, which is pretty impressive. And I think there is somewhere I did see the speed that with which they can go. But anyway, this is very important. I'd love to know how many they're looking at producing a week, but starting to be able to hit things at a distance of 3,000 kilometers, I think changes things for Ukraine.
I've been sharing with guys. I can't speak about the flamingos, but I'm just in the drone world. This fall, you guys get ready. There's new technology always unveiling. Now, to be fair, Russia's always unveiling new technology as well. But the stuff coming out of Ukraine that will be on the battlefield this fall is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I've wondered about this stupidity in essence. I don't understand why the Europeans aren't throwing all their eggs in the basket of tripling the SAMP-T production. So this is a Patriot. There's a SAMP-T NG, which is a new equivalent of basically the Patriot Pack 3 that can take out ballistic missiles, and apparently is obviously pretty decent. So they can forget the US administration. I believe the problem is a bottleneck in producing the Aster-30 missiles that would be fired out of these. But yeah, I don't understand why Europe hasn't gone to town on getting SAMP-Ts rather than relying solely on the US in terms of Patriot missiles and launchers. So yeah, good point there. I'm sure there is a reason for it. Tom Money, on top of everything, Trump is trying to screw money out of the Europeans through arms sales and tariffs. Yes, Americans pay the tariffs, but Europeans suffer the damage. It's yet another grift. Yeah, I don't know that tariffs is a grift. I think he's just, for some reason, loves tariffs and always has loved tariffs, and I don't think he understands them. And he listens to Peter Navarro as an economics advisor who doesn't know his arse from his elbow. So yeah, that's my studied opinion. DJT.
Well, listen, he's extremely bright. I remind you guys that it was in 1987 that he came out of Trump Tower and met the former premier of Russia, Mikhail Gorbachev, and of course it was a fake Gorbachev.
It's a fake Gorbachev, wasn't it? Yeah. DJT is a psychological experiment created by the KGB back in the 80s. They started with Epstein, but that experiment went totally wrong and ended in suicide. Yes. So insert conspiracy theory here. Trump and Putler are the same that way, or indeed, I don't think most of them are conspiracy theories regarding Epstein anymore. Both of them tried to distract their adversaries. Trump with a zigzag, Putler does psycho stuff. So yes, they are similar in some ways, that's for sure.
I can tell you right now, coming out of Russian news, not that I believe it, but RIA and TASS both reporting that Ukraine rejected an American offer to freeze the line and to give Donetsk and territorial concession. So now Russia's reporting it.
Yeah, the Financial Times is also reporting it. Kyiv rejects Putin's offer made to Trump in Alaska. So it's not what he said today, but this is the one that supposedly came from Alaska and thereafter, to freeze the remaining front line if Ukraine withdraws troops from the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. That's never going to happen. Alex Curia says, "Hey, Greg, doing the best I can with a small level, but I know you'll make good use of it. And thanks for all the good work, Chum." So that's
You're very welcome, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, Niels Clement. Again, absolutely stalwart supporter. Thank you. Papa Dutch, what I wonder is how one man with a lot of money could throw the Constitution of these United States in the toilet and get away with it. Yeah, money.
Completely agree, my friend.
A lot of
completely agree.
Trump is all we have to deal with now for the next 3 years. We have to put the positive vibes for him and pray for him to get this changed around. Yeah, yeah.
Well, for Johnny B. Lady Apiary to be completely fair and honest, yes, we need to pray that things change. But for Johnny, it's not about
Activism.
praying; it's about the planets aligning.
It's about humans solving human problems. It is about activism. It is about the midterm elections. It's about Congress having a backbone, even Republican, in fact, not even, especially Republican Congress people, because the Democrats aren't in power, so they can't do anything. But actually, Republicans can. Like, it takes a couple of people to cross the aisle, and then you don't get something passed through the House, right? It takes a few senators to do the right thing.
Amen,
and then,
lady.
And you know, things can change.
Right.
Now,
I'll tell you. Listen, we will just leave that right there. We'll see a lot of pressure changes as well, because now we're through the Alaska summit. We're through this meeting in DC with Zelensky and European leaders. There's going to be a ton of internal pressure coming back on the Trump administration, Donald Trump himself, inside the United States, whether it's Gavin Newsom with what he's doing, or Epstein files, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. There's going to be an immense amount of pressure, and he can't handle that pressure. So we'll see what unfolds.
And they're really, I mean, I do actually put a lot of store in Trump even seeing Alaska as a distraction from the Epstein files. I think the Epstein files really has been a problem. By all accounts, the Republicans behind the scenes have been in a turmoil as to how to deal with this. And so something like Alaska and Putin and this meeting today really does work as a perfect distraction. So he's going to be absolutely made up with that distraction. Look,
Georgie's in the hello, Georgie. Ukraine matters in the house.
Welcome, he's in the house.
Yes.
This is very generous for you. Some Aussie dollars for you from Vislav. Or they, yeah, I think that's Aussie dollars, or they, no, yeah, Aussie. So thank you.
Vislav Lachas, thank you. And guys, just as I tell you, just make sure those bells are on, because you're getting ready to see some stuff dropped.
Yeah, absolutely. So Linda H, for whatever is needed, sugar
thank you, Linda
whatever.
H.
And then we have Papa Dutch again. Give Ukraine a single example of an F-119 Nightingale and wait for them to develop it far beyond American designs. Well, good, yeah. F Oink, thank you again. David L, for you. Greg, for expenses you may need for the guys. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, David L. And as I say, guys, just thank you from the Ukrainian heroes, and just stay tuned. You'll be seeing it.
Michael Vujar saying, be careful of India analysis.
Agreed.
Michael often does.
I'm trying to learn about it.
And R.C. William, buy some snacks for the Ukrainian soldiers. We have Michelle Goldstein Dresner. Thank you, Greg. Will help. So
we'll do. And
generous of all you guys.
Yes, thank you, guys, and you'll see it. You'll see it.
And Blonde Bombshell, of course, supporting you multiple times. So that's very kind of
the legend.
Mod. Everyone needs a remote with a mute for all of Taco's talks. Yep, I wouldn't disagree there. Come on, everyone, buy a super chat for $10 for Greg to buy snacks for Ukrainian soldiers.
Thank you, RC William. You'll be seeing it.
EU spend more money on Russian oil than on Ukraine. This is a bit of a talking point. I mean, it is somewhat true. It's somewhat true, but like realistically, you're not going to get Europe to switch off oil and gas like that. You need logistics, you need spare capacity from other places in order to do that. It takes time. However, it's 3.5 years, and that should have happened. But the question is, who is mainly buying it? Well, look no further than Hungary and Slovakia, as some of the major perpetrators are others, of course. It is happening, but yeah, Hungary and Slovakia, they are some serious problems for the EU. Who's popping for some Ukrainian warrior snacks as well?
Thank you. And guys, I can tell you, so now we've moved beyond the Kharkiv region. The air alarm's on 50%. When the airplanes get closer or the MiGs go up, it'll go full Ukraine instantly because of the Kinjal. But Poltava region was just hit. Gas infrastructure just hit within the last couple of minutes. So
yeah,
you can see. They're hitting.
It will, yeah. Fellow Yavi. So what do you guys think will happen in the coming 6 months? Will Trump play in the Ukrainian team or for Team Russia? Will Trump give up and leave it to the EU hands? Bit of speculation from you, Greg.
I think Trump will do what is best for Trump. I think Trump wants that Nobel Peace Prize, but at the end of the day, Europe is going to have to step up stronger. Ukraine will do everything that they need to do. But I'm sorry, as an American, I have to say, I don't even trust my own president in regard to Ukraine at all. I don't trust this administration. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the things over the last 3.5 years we've done to stand with Ukraine and help. And guys, I see American equipment all over the place. I've seen the Patriots myself. I've been with the HIMARS when they're being fired. And I'm grateful. But going forward, I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned.
Yeah, I don't know that I can make a prediction because I just think Trump is too unpredictable. What I will say, I mean, there's some analyses coming out today. German aid to Ukraine had one, but there have been a few saying that Germany is doing a heck of a lot and is doing quite a lot sort of under the bonnet. And they should get some kudos for really stepping up. Merz has done a lot. Scholz actually had put some things in place prior to leaving that Merz is getting some plaudits for, but actually Scholz did do some things, but also Scholz didn't do other things that Merz is doing. And so Germany, I think, is insanely important, and it's probably a bit of a political game as well to get themselves back at the center of Europe in a way that they were when Merkel was their leader. They were kind of the driving force in Europe. So I think Merz, watch Germany really. But yeah, I don't think Europe will allow Ukraine to be hung out to dry, and I think the saving grace for Ukraine is Europe. I think will be forced to stand up for Ukraine, and therefore the dynamics is going to be about whether the US diverges from Europe a lot or not. And the problem is Trump keeps making things worse by having trade wars with Europe and allies. So you want Canada and Europe and the UK and Japan and Australia to support Ukraine, and you want the US to be massively on board with that. But then the US is slapping on tariffs on all of those nations, and then saying, on the one hand, saying, oh, Ursula von der Leyen, when he meets with her, she's a great woman and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day he's saying the EU's nasty, they're nasty, they're nasty. And that doesn't help Ukraine. So this kind of division and transactional behavior from Trump, I think, is very problematic. But I can't predict the next 6 months.
No.
So thank you very much to all of these people.
Thank you. Keith Morrison gifting 5 ATP Geopolitics memberships. Thank you, Keith. For Johnny.
We got Parts White, Trump Limerick. Trump scoffs at the shield we contrive, sneers low at NATO's Article 5. By weakening the pact, he courts Moscow's act and leaves allies to hope they'll survive. Very good, Parts. I won't say that in a New Zealand accent.
Is he drinking orange juice in that picture? Or is that an adult beverage that JP likes?
Almost certainly orange juice.
Okay.
So JP and Greg, you're the best. No live chat without you, JP.
Thank you, Stupidity and S. I hate even to say that name, but there's Captain Obvious.
For the shoe polish fund or for drinks, whatever. So yes, thank you. Let's polish those Trump shoes, or I just have another white port. Dr. Reagan, Elidith, PhD.
Elidith, PhD, out of France, and I always tell her, "Vive la France."
Vive la France.
Vive la France.
Viva would be Spanish, but I don't want to correct you, Greg.
No, please correct me because I don't speak French.
I
can do it my redneck way. Vive la France.
I've got a French degree, and I haven't.
Well, teach me because I want to say it right. Vive la France.
Like my French is,
all right, forget it.
Like, it's distant memory now. Like, I haven't spoken it in 27 years or something.
Greg, did you see Putin met an archbishop in Alaska pushing narrative he is with God? Oh, absolutely. And let me speak about that B lady for one moment. So after that meeting in Alaska, Vladimir Putin went out, laid some wreaths there. He spoke about, of course, in the summit, he was speaking about the history of Russia in Alaska, and there's over 700 named places with Alaskan names, and there's Russian Orthodox churches and all of this. And a lot of the international media picked up that he was at the grave making the symbol of the cross, and he's the true Christian leader of the world, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. So, oh yes, it was a big story, especially internationally.
Yeah. He loves a bit of religion when it's useful for him to court it. Papa Dutch, I wish Trump would just get out of the way.
I
That's very
completely
generous of
agree
you,
with
Papa
that.
Dutch. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so the last two
Not
now.
the United States. I wish Donald Trump would get out of the way.
Yes, totally agree.
I mean,
Because actually, frustratingly, there is bipartisan support for Ukraine. The figures are looking even
massive,
better.
brother. Listen, guys, for all of you that are not in the United States, and right now I'm in Ukraine, and Prof could tell you, or anybody else that streams out of the US, I have never seen "I stand with Russia" flag. I have never seen a Russian bumper sticker on the back of a tractor trailer. I have never seen a Russian flag flying in somebody's yard. But you travel throughout the United States, anywhere, it's Ukraine flags, Ukraine bumper stickers, Ukraine stickers on business doors. "I stand with Ukraine." So there's a breakdown somewhere. And it's right there in the White House, because there is a lot of support, both sides of the aisle, for Ukraine, period.
Yeah. Keith Morrison, why don't the UK take the hit, get Starmer to be the one to stand up to Trump, tell him to land, tell him no land given up, and then have Europe be the good guys? I'll tell you why. Because well, at least my speculation would be economically, the UK is in a lot of trouble at the moment. Where there's a big financial black hole, the welfare state. I was saying this a lot when I went on holiday, just explaining to people like that life is just getting more expensive, right? Just very quickly, Greg, I just want to talk through this.
No problem. I have nowhere to go but bed.
Okay, so like traditionally, societies look like this, where you've got a small amount of old people at the top, a triangle, right? And then down below, you've got a larger group of people who are paying tax. They pay for the older people at the top. And then you have a large number of children being born to replace the people here, who will then replace the people here. And it went like that. The problem, this is a great thing. People are living longer, right? And science and longevity and blah, blah, blah. It means that this top then starts going like that. And as we are living in mature societies, in the more developed societies, we also have fewer children. So as society goes like that, there are more old people that need to be supported by, but this group of people isn't enough now to support a larger, burgeoning, older section of society, right? So that comes out. This starts going in because they're having fewer and fewer children to come through and feed a larger set of people in the middle. So what used to be like that is now like that, right? Or sort of like that. And we cannot afford to support that many old people. Then, like, I was speaking to my mate who's very high up in Portsmouth City Council. I said, what are the biggest costs in Portsmouth City Council? He said, adult and childcare. I was speaking to someone on holiday. He said, look, we know one of our friends has a special need child. He went through special needs school right through education, and then he's now like 21, and parents are too old to look after him, and he requires 3 one-to-ones in the daytime and 2 one-to-ones at nighttime. That single person costs the council £1 million a year. One person costs £1 million a year. Now, this is no comment on whether we should or shouldn't do blah blah blah, but the point is that there are more and more people like this, more and more needs in society. Society is becoming more expensive. So how do you deal with that? Well, really, one of the only things is to put taxes up. But no one likes to say we're going to put taxes up because you won't get voted in. But taxes need to go up, right? Or the other thing is you need to grow the economy. How do you grow the economy? If you're getting fewer and fewer people feeding into the economy because your birth rates go down, you need immigration. But people generally don't like immigration. So, like, how do you deal with a situation where you're saying, well, you can't raise taxes and you can't have immigration, and the demographic shift goes like that? That is a problem, not just for the UK, where it's a problem. It's a problem for the United States, especially if you're getting rid of 15 million immigrants, and you know, it's a problem for China. This is a problem that the world is going to have to deal with, and I don't think we're at the moment ready to deal with it.
JP, let me give you breaking news coming out of Russia. This I can confirm is accurate. Ushakov here at 1 a.m. has confirmed that Putin and Trump held a late night phone call for 40 minutes. And Ushakov, who, when Putin's on a call, Ushakov is there. So he's presidential aide to Vladimir Putin. So a very key figure there, and you're starting to see him more and more. So he's there. So he says the call lasted 40 minutes. And that Putin and Trump have come to an agreement that they both support direct negotiations between Russian and Ukrainian delegations, and that Putin and Trump had a positive discussion on exploring the possibility of raising the level of representatives from Moscow and Kyiv at future negotiations. So there you have it.
Is that just to replay Istanbul negotiations again?
That's all that is. And
Yeah.
maybe we can do a Lavrov-Subiga.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where we're at, guys. So now I feel comfortable. I know that's accurate. So that's the result right there.
I just wanted, so to finish my idea, the reason I was talking about all that and society becoming more expensive is to understand the predicament that Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, is in, that we've got no money and everything's more expensive and things are just going to get more expensive. We need to pump an absolute ton of money into the NHS and we need to pump a ton of money into all sorts of places, including our defense sector, right? And there's no money to do that with. Now, if you're Starmer and you're faced with that problem, then should you stand up to the US and be the fall guy? Well, no, because what will happen? I mean, I ask you, what do you think would happen if Starmer stood up to the US?
Me?
Yeah. What do you think the retaliation would be?
Nothing.
No, so the retaliation, in my opinion, would be that tariffs would go up from 10%.
No. I'm sorry to say this, and I know we got a lot of UK people in here, but I don't think so. I don't think there would be nothing right now because UK's not on the radar.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it won't bring about an effect, but what will happen is Trump will get annoyed.
He could go to tariffs. He could do something reactionary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it won't have that much effect, and Trump will go, right, I used to like you, and now I don't like you, and we've got preferential tariffs in the UK compared to the EU, and they would just go, right, we're going to put tariffs up because Trump is retributive, so he likes a bit of retribution. So Starmer's caught in a bit of a difficult place there, where I'd like him to have a really strong backbone, stand up to Trump, but I also think that will probably screw us over, economically speaking, and then so it's a rock and a hard place. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But thank you very much, Keith. It's a really good question, and I appreciate that. And thanks for your support.
If you go to Truth Social, you'll now have confirmation of that. It just posted 2 minutes ago from Donald Trump.
Yeah. Deborah Borlays, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Goose Springsteen. Super late to the stream, so I'll have to go back and watch. But I just want to say thanks again for all you DJP and Greg.
You're very welcome, Goose.
Thank you, Goose. Thank you. Big Swede again, giving some Swedish love there. Just got a couple more that just come in. Mark Moody, you guys are great. So admire you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being here.
No, I love Russia bumper sticker on the feed.
Now that there may be one on that. And of course, that's the presidential limousine. All right.
Yeah. The one that Putin got a ride. And I played the video to my
yes,
audience.
that Putin got a ride.
Did you see the RT excerpt? So Russia Today, an English presenter on Russia Today, spoke to the correspondent at Anchorage when Putin was just about to come in, and she said to him, he was just saying, and here's the presidential car next to Russia's presidential car, and blah 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 blah. And she said, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if Putin got offered a ride in that car by Trump?" And then 10 minutes later, Trump offers him a ride, and you're like, you were laughing about how much of a win that would have been.
Well, you guys have to also understand from the Russian perspective, and I'll give you some insight into this. That was a mega big deal. Mega. Due to security issues alone, for them to allow Putin to get into that beast, or Putin himself. So that was a major statement, and Russians were watching it very closely.
Yeah.
Small donation for all those poor folks who suffer from super chat addiction. Papa Dutch, all right, stop sipping the home mash, Papa.
Tanny, thank you, super sticker for Greg, and then finally, and that's a very generous super sticker. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Goose Springsteen, JP, another big issue is we're massively indebted. We spend $107 billion servicing it. Yes, so absolutely agree. And we are particularly indebted compared to, well, some of Europe is really indebted, like France, UK. But you go to Germany, they're not indebted, but they just change their debt rules so that they can borrow loads of money to spend on defense. America, the US is in all sorts of trouble with debt. I mean,
no question.
That's going up. And the single person who's responsible for 22% of the US debt is Donald Trump. 22% of the US national debt has happened under Donald Trump's 10 years.
JP,
there you go.
As we
We're
close
done.
out, would you please pull up Donald Trump's truth message? It'll confirm what I told you guys from Ushakov. Came out 5 minutes ago.
Yep, here it is. So, okay.
And David L. coming in late there for defenders of Ukraine's fight for democracy and sovereignty. Please share with guys in Sumi. Very interesting you say that, because that's where our fundraiser is going to be for, is the Sumi guys. Whole new unit there. So thank you, David L. And you'll be seeing it. Just stay tuned. There you go. So
very kind. Yeah, thank you, David. That's a really, really generous donation. Donald Trump says, I had a very good meeting with distinguished guests, President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine, President Emmanuel Macron of France, Alexander Stubb of Finland, Meloni, Italy, Starmer, UK, Merz, von der Leyen, Mark Rutte in the White House, which ended in a further meeting in the Oval Office. During the meeting,
pause.
Yeah.
He didn't write this. There's no capitals and everything's spelled correctly. All right, keep going.
100%. I don't think he writes anything, actually, to be honest, really. During the meeting, we discussed security guarantees for Ukraine, which guarantees would be provided by the various European countries and a coordination with the United States of America. Everyone is very happy about the possibility.
Don't read that too quickly, sir.
Sorry.
Which would be provided by European countries with a coordination with the United States of America. There's no statement here provided for by European countries and the United States. United States becomes the coordinator. I'm telling you, just what he's already been. The worst thing that could have happened, guys, listen to me right now, is before Zelensky and the European leaders left, he's already called Putin. That's a problem. I'm telling you, because Putin just got in his ear. So this is what you're seeing.
And this is really important because, as we mentioned earlier on in the video, the importance from a European point of view was security guarantees. In fact, Marco Rubio reiterated that himself. And now he's kind of stepping back by saying previously that we could help with security guarantees. Well, I suppose this could be part of that, which is coordinating. That is not good enough. The US needs to be a major player there, or provide some kind of backstop or something.
Sorry to interrupt you, but there's a very important point to get there.
You're totally right. I will slow down.
Everyone
is very happy about the possibility of peace for Russia-Ukraine. At the conclusion of the meetings, I called President Putin and began the arrangements for a meeting at a location to be determined between President Putin and Zelensky. After that meeting takes place, we will have a trilateral meeting, a trilat, which would be the two presidents plus myself. Again, this was a very good early step for a war that has been early step for a war that has been going on for almost 4 years. It's not really an early step, but Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are coordinating with Russia and Ukraine. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, two things: security guarantee only being coordinated by the US, and trilateral meeting. He did talk with Putin, and a trilateral meeting is on the cards.
No.
Potentially.
Read again. Sorry for the American English. You're not the British English. Trilat after Zelensky meets Putin. Good luck.
Right. Yep. Sorry, I missed that. Too much white port. I blame Mark.
You've got to. I'm telling you, pay attention to every word here. I called President Putin, began the arrangements for a meeting.
So he's began the arrangements. He's begun the
arrangements.
At
a location to be determined between Putin and Zelensky. Yeah. After that meeting takes place, we will have a trilat. So I've got news for you. Zelensky's not going to Moscow.
And Putin won't go to most of the places, I would have thought. And even somewhere, maybe Turkey. You can maybe get away with Turkey.
Well, anyway, we see what's unfolded. I think we've done a phenomenal job laying this out tonight, even from start to finish, because now we have Russia speaking, Trump speaking, Fox News canceled. So we'll see. Now, guys, what do? We wait. It'll take 12, 24 hours to get a real clear picture from President Zelensky. And let's hear what he says next. And that'll be coming.
So, Mark, very kindly, JP and Greg, we need to coordinate our next trip so that we can meet for a meal and plan how we can support Ukraine. Unfortunately, I'm not sure whether we are going to coincide with Greg. Greg might be coming back just before we go, but we could maybe get out a little bit
We
earlier.
will
I don't
do our
know.
best. I'll tell you that. I got some
Yeah.
good places. And once again, I saw it go by in the chat right now. I think it was from Oink. You know, no talk of sanctions, no talk of anything, no talk
Yeah.
of pressure.
Yeah.
Had a great day. So.
Yeah, in other words, not a lot achieved, but I guess you could say what has been achieved is
Clarity.
If this is a key, well, if this is a case, possibly that Trump is not going hard on Ukraine in the way that he was yesterday, maybe, but I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But
We'll
I would
see.
hope.
Now we wait.
I would hope that that's what the Europeans would take away from this. Look, it's late for you, mate. Thank you very, very much to Prof. Gerdes and his audience. Thank you very much to all of you guys out there for your incredible generosity to all the channels and to what Greg is doing. And thank you to Greg for being a wonderful interlocutor and co-host and general sparring buddy.
We are. I'll tell you what. I love you, man.
I love you too, dude.
Yeah, buddy. So thank you. And hey, guys, we thank you for everything, for all of the moderators. Once again, thank you. They just couldn't do it without you. You do these 3 ways. I'd like to read chat from everybody's channel, and it's just crazy. So thank you, and keep up the news. We appreciate each and every one of you, and stay tuned. You're going to see some love in action here soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, take care, everybody. Big love to you all, and stay tuned, and we will keep you updated with all the news as it comes over the next
shame on you for me. Papa, go to sleep. There you go.
Okay. Well, look, take care, everybody. Greg, stay on the line. Big love to you all. Toodle pips. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you, guys. Get on Slava. Razum do peremoga.